Welcome to the 1000 Club podcast, where we believe that behind every woman there's a tribe chanting, yes! We call our tribe the 1000 Club, and every other Thursday we invite you into our VIP section to chat, console, shoot the breeze, or inform. Find us everywhere, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. And remember to follow us on all socials at 1000 Club.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 1000 Club podcast as we recap the Amazon Prime original Harlem. So we are getting into season 8. We are almost at the end of, season 1, episode 8. We're almost at the end of the season. So on this episode entitled 5 Years Ago, we go back to see how the women where the women were 5 years ago and how that connects to where they are now. So in the beginning, we see that Camille and Ian are getting ready to go to Europe to have Ian pursue his dream. And Camille is 100% on board. She's sharing that she is excited about the opportunities that she has over there, and she is ready to go. Although we do see some turmoil happen in this episode between her previous boss, who was the professor who is no longer there with her. I think her name is Renee. Mm-hmm. And then also how she deals with her mom and the issues she has with her mom not showing up and how that transcends into her relationship with Ian. We also see that Quinn started off somewhere else before she became an entrepreneur and started owning her own shop, and how miserable she was at that job. Then we also see Ty in a completely different look in a different part of her life at a business or place that is talking about apps for women and having a male-dominated table talking about what apps they should develop for women. And then lastly, we also see that Angie had a very lavish life 5 years ago. So as we come into this episode, we noticed that a lot of the plans for the women that they had, their lives changed based on where they were 5 years ago. So kind of connecting it to our episode 7, where we have Camille sit down with a therapist and we talk about life-changing plans. Ladies, I wanted to ask you, so have you ever dealt with, or are you dealing with currently, adjusting and accepting a change in your life plan? I know it's a very general, big question.
Yeah, no, but I can definitely answer it. That's exactly where I am right now in life. At 32, I think, and I've said it probably, I think I've said it here many times. The only there are pieces of my life that are the same, but they didn't come together as I thought. So I always knew that I would live in the DMV area. I always knew that I would travel. But in terms of the rest of my life, I never really thought that deep about the things that I really wanted for my life outside of a career, which at that, growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer and then a judge. Not doing that. Uh, and of course, not of course, but my dream was always like marriage and children. That's not happening. So definitely in that place right now of just accepting that my life is not as I planned it, not just as a child, but for so much of my life. You're working towards those goals. You have these dreams you want to accomplish, and you're working towards that. And while accepting, also giving myself space to grieve the fact that, I'm not, while my life is great, you know what I mean? Like, it's not as I planned. And then also just allow myself to just be in this space right now and really enjoy and be grateful for the space that I'm in, because I do have a great life. So I know that's at the intersection of a bunch of different things, which is like past, my present, and future, which will be whatever it will be. But I'm definitely at that intersection now.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the list that I made when I was 21 and what I wanted for my life in the next 5 years and what I envisioned for my life beyond that. And I wanted to like be married, have two kids by like 26, and that did not happen. And although I am married now, I think I got married at 31 or 32. And still figuring out like kids, like still figuring out, is this something that I want? And would I be comfortable not having kids? That's something that is newer for me because I think I always thought, just because of how I was raised and what I saw around me, that you get married and you have kids. Like, I didn't really know anyone who did not have kids that was married. But now I see that a lot. I know a lot of women who are married who don't have children, who are not married, who have children, who are not married and don't have children. And so I am now open to more possibilities when it comes to like family planning. I've been thinking about a lot like this a lot lately, that as you get older, especially I think in your 30s, depending on how your life was prior to your 30s, as you are adulting, there's a lot more that you are not in control of. So, like, most people have lived very linear lives. You know, you graduate high school, then you go to college, or you go and whatever, you go into a trade or whatever. And then you may pursue a higher degree, you may get your master's, and then you get into this career. It's very linear, and you are in control of all of that. But as you get older, and this is not for everybody, but the unexpected happens, you know, your unexpected death and sickness. And, you know, if you have a partner, if you're married, like, you are not responsible for your spouse and their actions and their health and their careers. Like, it's so much that happens that's unexpected that you are not in control of. And I think that's where the season that I'm in now, is just being prepared, being open, being realistic about the unexpected, and just being okay with that and sitting in that and knowing that I can have my own individual plans and my own individual goals, but I do not know the future. And I'm a woman of faith, but I do know who does hold the future. And for me, that's God. And so wherever God throws my way, whatever he wants to bless me with, I want to be prepared and open and ready to receive it. So that's the season that I'm in right now.
I want to take it a little kind of like a step further, and we see that Renee has a big impact on the decision that Camille makes when she leaves Ian and lets him go to Paris on his own, even though she had planned, she was okay with the plan for her life at that time. Have you ever experienced that where someone's voice was echoing in your head and made you kind of adjust what you were doing, change your plan, second guess your decisions, to where either you reflect back on it now and feel like you did the right decision listening to them, you made the right decision listening to them, or you didn't? Have you ever experienced that? And then how did you feel about that happening to Camille?
I have, when it came to a career. So I always wanted to be a journalist. And then when I graduated from college, my parents were very much stressing, you need to have health insurance, because I was going to be off of my mom's health insurance once I turned 21. This was before Obamacare, and you could stay on until 27. So it was very much stress. Like, you need to get a job so you can have health insurance. And because I felt that pressure, it was like, just get any job that I can get and not really pursue my dreams. And I think my maybe love for journalism had kind of changed as as I had different opportunities in college. But I think I would have went into a more creative career had I not felt the pressure to just get a job because I needed health insurance. Now, the way things worked out, I do believe everything happens for a reason. I'm very fortunate for where I am now in my career. But would I love to be doing something more creatively? Yes. Do I have the opportunities to still do that? Yes. And so I think, things played out the way that they did, but I definitely have felt influenced, especially my career, by the voice of others.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've had that. I feel like maybe career, um or maybe really even just my life if I think about it. Like I think just the influence of, as Chrissy said, others, family, society. And I don't know, I can't really recall. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I right now I just have a lot of thoughts in my head. So I can't really recall like if any of this was said like explicitly, but it's just something that you feel. And so I think those influences for me have really come in terms of being able to stand on my own, being financially independent. That has sparked maybe some missed opportunities. I mean, I think in college, I wish I had more people, sitting down to talk to me about my loves and my passions, to give me some alternatives, because and maybe that's happening more now, but when I went to school, which was 2007 to 2011, you know we still had those like single term professions: lawyer, doctor, researcher, social worker, whatever. And so I wish that I had the freedom that this generation Z has, to be able to know then what I'm doing now, which is that I can kind of define my own career and, ebb and flow through different genres and still do something that I love. Because maybe I would have tried an internship at Rock Nation or even Procter and Gamble, or one of the Fortune 500 companies, if I knew that they did, if I knew about corporate social responsibility then, and that was something that I could have done. I might have tried to work for a hotel company that serves people abroad and maybe did something in their social impact office, because so I think, yes, definitely career. I would also say in terms of dating, I was actually talking to my therapist about this recently, and you have this thing like, number one, I have a Caribbean father, so I should definitely preface that. And I find that immigrant parents are very, especially dads, are very much about like, don't date, don't date, right? Because like they want you to focus on school. Like they came here, made this sacrifice. School is your way out, right? Your education is your way out. And anytime you deter from that, you basically, you know, kind of shit on their sacrifice, right? Because they came here for that. But at the same time, I think between my father being that way and my mom not fully being able to embrace my growth and my maturation and my adolescence, that I think about how I just was not encouraged to like date. I remember like thinking about the first guy that I talked to them about, and it wasn't like embraced because of my age. And it's like, for me, it's just, when I think back, it's like, well, yeah, you might think I'm young, but this is happening now. You see what I'm saying? And I think about how that then affected my dating experiences, because largely it's like I then became a recluse, and I'm trying to navigate something so big by myself at such a young age, versus being like, okay, this is happening now, invite them over, let's meet them, being, embracing it and being able to guide me through that portion of my life. So I think, so I guess to your question, um sometimes, yes, it's explicitly said that something sways you, but sometimes it's just people's actions that are around you that also you interpret and move you in different ways.
Yeah, I think I had a similar, like a combination of both of those experiences. I feel like the pressure for me really didn't really came from the people that saw me differently than they saw my family, if that makes sense. So like the pressure of like I have to be this person, or I made it out of this place, or I made it out of this situation, so you have to be better, you have to be greater, and you can only stay focused on one thing really doesn't allow you the ability to navigate or try the things that you're really excited about or that you're passionate about. So I'm also in that stage of redefining my path and being comfortable with knowing that it doesn't look like what I thought I was going to do at like 12 or 18 or 21, but that is still really good. And it's about what I want at this point and what's, what is important to me. So similar, kind of a little bit
And
of
I
both.
just, I just wanted to
Mhm.
say, I think last episode, Camille's therapist said to her, you change as a person, so it's okay for your plans to change. And that really like resonated with me because I change a lot. Like I want to do something and I might run with it. And then I'm like, I want to do, I get tired of things easily and I change a lot. And so I think it is important to be open. Like nothing stays the same. Nothing is forever. And so it's okay to change course from what you wanted at 21, 25, 30. Like life is all about change. It's all about evolving and growing. And so I think it's important to be open to change and to life not happening the way that you may have wrote it down in your journal or, planned it out in your head.
Yeah, because one thing about life is it's going life. And there's that. I also do find it sometimes a good thing to go back to those lists though, because oftentimes like that is when you did dream your biggest, when you had reality hadn't set in. You didn't make the choices that went against what you really wanted to do. And so sometimes it is good to also go back to those lists, and there's still time to try those things. There's still time to get into a journalism class or just start writing a blog. There's time to reconnect with old friends. There's time to just, and I think too, that's something that people have to remember, is that just because you do get to a certain age and you feel like knee deep in life, you can always go back to making yourself happy, through some of those things too. That can be a part of your new plan.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think we're in a season where it's becoming more acceptable for people to do that, particularly in our age group. Like you said, I think the younger, you don't think so? I feel like the younger generation, it's a little easier for them to make changes, whereas we came up in the time where you went to school, you picked a career, you did this, you did
I
that.
agree. I agree. That's why I don't think it's becoming more acceptable.
Oh, you don't think it's becoming okay?
Well, I
Yeah,
think it's not more acceptable because
right.
we
That's
have
what I'm
more
saying.
responsibilities. Like
Right.
Generation Z, they're okay still living in mommy and daddy's home and
Right.
they're okay with that. But we got rent and mortgage and student
Right.
loans. So
But you
Right.
don't think do you ladies
Right.
think that it's I guess maybe it's becoming more prevalent, like a lot more people are doing it
oh
and
yeah.
not feeling bad about it in a sense. Maybe it's not more accepted, but maybe people are just doing it. Like you're transitioning from a career to an entrepreneurship
Mhm.
or one from one career path to a completely different one, or you're deciding to not get married or not have kids, and
Mhm.
like that's just becoming a
I
little
will
more
say
prevalent.
I think our generation, millennials, that we are more comfortable with breaking away from the norm. So we are okay with just being like, I'm gonna quit my job in a month. I don't really have a plan, but I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna go after my purpose. We're okay with saying, I'm not having a child and I'm okay with that. We're okay with like, I'm okay with a long term partnership and not getting married. We're more comfortable with breaking away from what society's norms are. But I do think we're still not as bold as Gen Z because we do have responsibilities that we do have to think about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with
Mhm.
that. Okay. And we see a little bit of that with Quinn and her. She's in this career that she hates, and then we fast forward to the 5 years where she's now a business owner. We don't really see too much of how that transpired, but we do see that it happens. So there's that, and then we also learn a lot about Ty this episode and her past, and how she started at a firm where it was very male dominated. Then she gets this really good change in her day where her girlfriend at the time asked her to move in, and then she has to make this big reveal to her that she is now still currently married. And that is something that, you know, she has to deal with her partner at the time. I can't remember her name, walking away. So I did want to ask you ladies, how did you feel about that scene? That was a lot of, I think, connecting to who Ty is in this present time as we see her in the upcoming episodes and in the previous episodes. Did you feel like she was valid in sharing that at that time? Should she have shared that earlier? What did you guys think about that?
I kind of wish for this topic, and I wish we had someone on here who was a part of the LGBTQ community, because I I know some people who've had that. I know some people who've had that story, but by large, that's not. I mean, as extreme as her story is, I don't know. Like, majority of my queer friends didn't have that story, so I'm not gonna lie. Some of that I was kind of trying to figure out, like the writing on the show. Like, did they just try to put like try to just put every single LGBTQ scenario into Ty's character? Um, Not saying that there's not people out there with that story. Do you know what I mean? And different variations. Um, so I'm not gonna lie. I was like, in that part, I was just like, I was a little disappointed in that storyline, because I was like, she could still just come of age, you know, and still be trying to come out and have to be able to express herself, because that's what I saw, right? Like in Ty, regardless of like I said, what I feel was like extreme. Um, you know, I think that's something that resonates with everybody. When you are breaking away from your parents' thoughts, or, you know, societal thoughts, you do have that reckoning where you finally do get to taste something and you're like, yeah, this is I really enjoy, I did something for myself, I really liked it, and it's time for you to commit. And you know, there might be something that potentially could destroy that. So I felt bad that she had to make that decision. I think we've all made that decision in one way or another with other things, which we talked about, like maybe our careers or professions, lives, dating situations. Um, yes, I felt bad. I wish it was something that she could have said earlier. At the same time, I think you also have to respect people's journey, and maybe they didn't have a conversation about where Ty was in her journey, which was very early in her sexual identification. Like, you know, so it just goes back to Anna. Like, and I felt bad because I felt like I saw Anna again in this situation of just like, you gotta support people's journey, you know. And I'm not saying you have to stay with the person, um, because we're all at different parts in our journey. And if she's farther along where she ain't at the questioning stage, she can't be with someone who's still questioning, you know. But at least kind of understand, you know, show a little like empathy and
Mm-hmm.
sympathy. I wish I had more from her. Um, Care, you know, just like very basic level, just I get it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Rashana said it very well. I think, you know, more empathy for someone's journey given Ty's past and her reasoning for making the decisions that she made, and thinking that she was making the best decisions she could for herself and thinking about herself. And at least she was forthcoming about that information, right? Like, she didn't want to take that huge step and not disclose that. But Yeah, I think there could have just been, like Rashana said, just more empathy for her journey and where she was coming from.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. So with this episode being entitled 5 years ago, and we take a look back on the characters' journeys to now. Um, as we wrap up this episode, I have one question for you, ladies. If you look back on yourself 5 years ago to where you are now, what is the thing what is the growth in you that you're most grateful for, or you're most excited about, or you're happiest about that you are where you are now as opposed to where you were 5 years ago? And it could just be, it doesn't have to be like career, like we see in this episode. A lot of it is pertaining to careers, or relationships. It could just be life in general.
So for me, 5 years ago, I was traveling, I was living life, I was having fun, and I am glad that I'm still doing that. And at the time, 5 years ago, I don't know if I just started dating my now husband or not. But anyway, here we are married, getting ready to celebrate 3 years. And I'm glad that I am still living life, traveling, having fun while being married.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. As I said, I'm at this intersection right now, so I don't think I have a full answer
Mm-hmm.
in terms of growth. But like Chrissy said, I'm happy that I'm still able to do the things that I enjoy doing then and still enjoy doing them now. And I'm happy that I'm able to do them at a greater frequency. Um, and with a bigger budget. So
Amen. I would say the thing I'm most grateful for in my growth is my vulnerability with myself, and trusting, the decisions that I make moving forward. So, with that, as we wrap up episode 8 of season 1 of Harlem, Amazon Prime's show, we will cheers to the next 5 years in growth and all of the things that are coming. So, cheers.
Cheers.